Grand Rising, everyone. This is Ron. It is Saturday, February 14th. I think someone's already said Happy Valentine's Day, but Happy Valentine's Day, 2026, a little after 10 a.m. Let's see if we have any questions from anyone. Questions, comments? I know something we've talked about before, uh, but something else, I bring it up because I think it's an interesting thing. Do you guys realize that since the 1st of February, we've had five more earthquakes in South Carolina? I think the highest one was a 2.3, 2.4 on the Richter scale, and that one was in the upstate. But I just think that's interesting. Uh, we
Mm.
went we went through a flurry of them probably, uh, what was it, a year or two ago, and they kind of slowed down a little bit. But since February of this year, they picked up a little bit, and does anybody witness any patterns? Because it doesn't appear that they're happening in the summer or winter, just happening almost, I guess I could say randomly, but I just think it's something interesting. That's all. Just bringing it to your attention.
Ron, I have a comment. Grand
Yes.
Rising family and honor to the ancestors. Um, I noticed we've had all four seasons within the month of February. We had not seasons, but we had, as far as weather,
Yeah.
we had ice, snow, rain, and sunny days. I thought that was kind of peculiar. That's my comment. I'm
Hmm.
done.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, it's in the upstate here. Tomorrow is supposed to be a rainy day. So, yeah, you're right. And it's just been up and down. It's been February's been kind of unpredictable, I guess, weather-wise. But thank you.
Yeah, Grand Rising, everyone. This is GC. When you talk about, you know, nature, I just, reflect on the five that you mentioned in terms of the storms, and then Evelyn, just talked about all what's happening in February as we continue to celebrate, you know, um, African History Month, but the forces of nature. When we talk about the air, when we talk about the earth, we talk about the wind, we talk about the fire, and we talk about the ether, but how the force of nature is guiding us in a way for us to be receptive, you know what I mean, in terms of what are we experiencing, through this weather. We've had, storms too here. We're supposed to get snow tomorrow, possibility. But just again, appreciating, the energy, appreciating nature. So I just want to share those thoughts in reference to, the power and the energy of nature. I'm done.
Thank you, GC. And you're exactly right. Uh, and I had not thought about it from that perspective until Evelyn said it. We've experienced a little bit of everything here in this month. So good observation. Anyone else a question, a comment? Okay. Pastor, do you have anything or any way you want to take us, rather? I know you have something.
Hey, Ron, before Pastor speak, I
Uh-huh.
have a question.
Okay.
In Genesis 3 and I think it's 3 and 22, when he was telling about when he was telling man have became like one of us, knowing good and evil. I want to go back to the word us. What do you mean by us? He was singling out he was saying that I'm. It seemed like it was one of the gods or what or who what he was talking about.
Um,
And it
yeah,
might be just written wrong the way I see it when I read it.
uh-huh. Well,
So could we,
yeah, let's look at it for a minute, Charles. I just want to start it off by saying Genesis is one of those books, especially the first three chapters, and I think we talk about this quite a bit. Uh, that is being evolved as we speak. Uh, Meaning our understanding and pulling truth from it. And we talked about us being Elohim and trying to understand that, and that we are part of, not only a part of, we are a major portion of creation and what was created. But I want to go into it a little more detail because it seems like every time we go into Genesis and speak of the creation story, especially, uh, we turn a page and see more and more. So, um, discussion on the table, guys. Question Charles has: what is the us? What do you see there? Anybody? Should the word?
You're on
Let me
mute.
ask this
Pastor's on
question.
mute.
Huh? I'm
Yeah,
sorry, Jordan.
pastor's on mute. I think he was speaking.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay, my fault. I was saying that as far as I'm concerned, because of the way it's written, what I'm seeing is that I need some time to look at it. If someone else knows what it means or can see anything in there, it would help because when it talks about the Lord God, it's speaking of the one who was not created, the eternal one. Then it says the Lord God, the Lord Elohim. Uh, the word behold can be translated as one of the ways it can be translated is hypothetically or surprised. And I don't see that being, you know,
I think the word that kind of gets my attention is the man has become like one of us. Like, he doesn't say the man has become one of us. He has become like one of us, as though there is a different approach or a different way of seeing this. He said, knowing, being intimate with good and evil. So,
but us is not there, Ron.
okay.
It says what's there is behold. Then it says man, which is translates as Adam, not Ish, but Adam. Um, has become is not there. Man is one of us, a one. So I would have to look at that in depth before I could offer understanding from my point of view. But
So
I welcome anyone else who sees something there.
the man has become one, knowing good and evil.
Yeah,
So that speaks to his thoughts then.
that's yada, meaning to be intimate with,
Yeah.
receive, good, to perceive or to be one with, good, and, and evil, or ripeness and unripeness, which means also disagreeable. So
Does anybody else see anything? Or at least have a thought on it?
to stretch out its hand and take. Tree of life. Devour it.
Hmm.
I was looking at the words, some of them anyway,
Mm-hmm.
as we were talking, and I just hear mixture or something seemingly all conflated in there,
Yeah.
because there are two words for man that I've come across anyway in the Old Testament. One is Ish, and the other one is Adam. Now, if I were to speak of Adam from the original understanding of the creation story, uh, Adam means supposedly it means blood, or it means it comes from a root word that speaks to something that is ruddy or red. I'm not even sure that that should be there either.
Also
And
means sap, doesn't it? To flow.
it's mean blood that flow. Yeah, there's
Okay.
the life that flows through the blood that courses through the body, or wine, or sap. It has several meanings, but all of them speak to something that's liquid,
Yeah.
as opposed to speaking to a solid body, as is described in other parts of Genesis. And he made man from the dust of the earth, created Adam from the dust of the earth. Well, but yet Adam means something that flows. So how can that be? So that's why I say I need to look at it. I can't offer a clearer understanding of it.
Well, just for sake of discussion, just based on what you just said, uh, could that be a choice that man has? He has been, the fluidity represents spirituality, and the dust represents uh the physical part of who you are, and that is your choice. Can this be saying the man has made a choice and it is not to be fluid? He has made the choice to be uh to embrace his non-spiritual side. So,
Um,
or is that going in the wrong direction?
the word Adam consists of masculinity and femininity together, both. And because it says Adam, the word man is Ish. When you're talking about a masculine entity,
Hmm.
is Ish. And the feminine is Isha. And this speaks more to blood, or more to the life of the man is in the blood, or the life of the human is in the blood. It speaks more to that shows up, I think, in Leviticus for the life of the man is in the blood. So it is convoluted to me. Not convoluted, I'm sorry. It's a bit confusing to me right now.
Okay.
I'm just asking if there anyone else who's looking at this and sees something there other than what we talked about or what we talked about. I don't like,
Excuse me.
well, we have not in the past uh, made it be what we want it to be. We've always searched so we can get an understanding of what it's really saying. So I'm asking us, as the one who sees anything at this moment, to defer until we can get it at another time. And the other part of that is there's so many things, there's so much going on right now. And I need to deal with this. I need to deal with Isaiah 40 and 31. And the reason I say that is because just like the other scriptures that I have talked about in the last couple of weeks, I did not look for them. They found me, meaning that they came to me and they had a persistence in my mind. And each time, what I've noticed is that not only is this giving us in-depth understanding of femininity and masculinity, but it's also speaking to the times that we live in. And I maybe the reason nobody's seeing anything right now clear enough to present is because we're not supposed to talk about it now. Would everyone make sure that your phones are muted, please? So I don't know what else to say.
Well,
What you said is good, Pastor. What you said is good because, I mean, it's best to wait and just say something just to be saying something.
Yeah, we're not
I
going to.
can wait.
Yeah. So, Ron?
okay. Are you ready to go into Isaiah? Were there any other questions you guys have? Anything that you like to discuss today or won't answer it today? We'll just hold off on Charles's question for now. Okay, Pastor, you want to go into Isaiah?
Yes, I do. Um, I want to look at Isaiah 31. Now, in looking at Isaiah 31, I understand very
Isaiah
clearly.
40, right? Isaiah
Yeah, 40 and 31.
40 and 31. Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Looking at it, I understand that the first 30 verses are a description of what's in the 31st verse. And it's quite a bit that leads up to this verse. It actually speaks to an understanding of what this means practically or spiritually. it says in third verse 31, it says, "Yet those who wait for the Lord will gain new strength. They will mount up with wings like eagles. They will run and not faint, and they will walk and not become weary." What does that mean? Well, if we go up to verse 30, that's where it starts talking about the youth fainting. The reason this is brought to my attention, I do believe, is because of where we are in our weariness. There are so many people who have spoken with me who are exhausted. And I'm wondering, okay, how long, Lord? And I think I said to you last week that I have been there. And I'm like, what were we created for? Were we created simply to live under pressure forever? Why were we created? Were we created to be oppressed by by evil essence? And that is a backdoor way of saying that I'm tired of waiting. We've gone through this for eons, and I'm tired of waiting. Well, the spirit is willing, but the flesh is weak, meaning that the spiritual essence of who you are is willing to wait. The spiritual essence of who we are is impatient, not realizing that it just started. We just started a journey to find out who we are and to truly embrace it. When I look at what has taken place in the past, during the period of enslavement, anyone who, physical enslavement, anyone who spoke in spiritual terms was objectified. They were vilified. They were extricated from the community. Why were they vilified or extricated from the community? Because they were called witches. They were called evil. And the oppressor made voodoo something that was of the devil. And having done that, it pushed spirituality, our spiritual nature, essence, desires, deep inside of us. And we actually grew a scab over the spiritual nature of who we are. And in doing so, we separated our spirituality. We substituted, spirituality for Christianity, Islam, etc., especially Christianity and Islam. And in doing so, we lost ourselves within ourselves. And now that, and even before that, anything spiritual was vilified as being evil. Anything spiritual was replaced by force with Christianity and Islam. So here we are now in a space where we are overtly searching for truth, and the journey has brought us to a spiritual space where we are able to process spiritually as opposed to process based upon the illogical logic of this world. And we have sought an end to the oppression. And in doing so, what has been brought into our sight is our presence is the chaos that we are currently experiencing in this physical world. Those we cannot afford to be impatient. We can't do that. We cannot afford to doubt. We have to stay the course. We brought these things into fruition that are now being seen as chaos. However, I don't see them as chaos. I see them as the deconstruction of a house. I see them as refreshing our memory of who we are and what our origin is. And the more I read the scriptures, the more I see how they were manipulated so that everything could be about a man and very little, if anything, is about a female other than negativity. And now that we have begun to see the true nature of our Creator being feminine, now that we embrace that womb of everything that is, we are able to see both with our eyes and our eye. Seeing with our eyes, we see chaos. And when we see those same actions with our eye, we can see the reason it is necessary for these things to take place. And I haven't forgotten where I'm going in 31 yet. I just want to lay a foundation for what I've been shown. We see what's happening, but we must see it through our eye. And I know it's difficult to see things through the eye, but then that is the reason we are given teachers to guide us. The eye sees what's happening in the streets. We talk about us not being in the street as a people. We have spoken about that quite frequently. We've talked about the necessity of us not being in the streets. We understand that our black bodies would be used to institute the Insurrection Act, which grants the government legal permission.
You want to hear it?
Would you mute your phone, please, Franklin? Where am I? The things that are happening, the Insurrection Act, rather, is what I was talking about, will give them permission to kill our black bodies, as they have in the past. When you see that, we did not see that with the eye. We were shown that by our ancestors, because no one sent out a memo and told us to stay out of the streets. No one did that. Our ancestors actually guided us. And we did not realize what had taken place until after it was already done. Now, having said that, we must use this as a point in our history that we reference when we get uneasy, or when we get impatient about what is already here that we can't see with our eyes. That is a reference point for us. We did not know what was coming, but the ancestors messaged us as a people, as a whole, which means that the message did not come to the mind. The message came to our souls. The guiding force in us is spirituality. We even though there are those of us who don't believe in what we're talking about, they still hang on to Christianity, Islam, etc. They cannot explain, those who hold on to Christianity and Islam, they cannot explain how is it that all of us at one time understood that we were not supposed to be in the streets. They cannot explain that. The only explanation for that is our ancestry. And if we can hold on to that, that will give us the wherewithal to be strong as we travel this journey and to refocus when we are out of focus. The people who are in the streets are primarily Europeans or Caucasians are the primary ones in the streets. And they are the ones who had to see the evilness of this Neanderthal mind. They are the ones who had to experience the brutality of the Neanderthal mind. And now there is a cry from them for us to help them. We don't know what we are doing. We need Black people to help us. That's another way of saying we don't know what we are doing. We need God to help us, to guide us. However, it is not time, because those who are in these streets and beginning to experience what we've gone through ever since we came in contact with Europeans, it's time for them to experience it. Because when we were being killed, all they were saying was, oh my God, isn't that awful? And staying at home. Now that that white woman was killed, yes, it was horrific. However, it was necessary because it painted a clear picture. She was not the first one that ICE killed. The first one that ICE killed were people of color. However, when she was killed, the death became a mainstay thing. It began to become a headline, and that headline was very strong until this male was killed, which is also horrific. So we have the death of the womb of the European mindset that was birthing the evil, and we have the death of the seed that's been planted to create an environment where this evilness could be perpetual. However, it's just the opposite. It is the death of both. The symbolism there. Not only that, but we also have those with the European mindset who are upset because now they realize that that SNAP was doing more to help them than it was us. And the things that I've seen and read about that is white people are upset because we are continuing to move forward, to prosper. We're doing well by staying out of the fray. And we were not as dependent on SNAP as they thought we were. All of these things are happening in order for us to see the deconstruction of this house called America, and by extension, every European country that dominates the world. It starts at the head, and the head of the domination in this earth is America. So when you look at this thing, well, they're moving ice out of Minnesota. This is an evil plot because they want that money. They want that bill to pass. And that's an evil plot to make it look like there is a diminishing of the presence and brutality of ICE, but it's not. All of these things and more are variables that become guideposts for our understanding when we are seeing it with the eye. And again, I understand the difficulty in seeing things with the eye when we have been taught all our life, generation after generation, to see things with our eyes and dispel anything that is spiritual by virtue of labeling it as something evil. I understand that. I understand the difficulty in it. That is why we have leadership. That is why we have people who must do everything possible to be the burden bearers, but also to be a source of clarity, a source of understanding, a source of wisdom when we see what's going on with our eyes. So when I look at this particular verse, verse 31, it comes from Isaiah 40, when it talks about those who wait for the Lord. I want to read it from King James, if I may. Let me pull it up from the King James. It says, "But they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary, and they shall walk and not faint." Now, the verse preceding that speaks about youth. Even the youth shall faint and the weary be weary, and the young men shall utterly fall. That's not what's written there. What is mistranslated. What this is talking about when it talks about the youth is actually talking about a child. When you look at the translation of it, it speaks to a child or babe. However, it also says something else. This has been translated as men. However, that also applies to a boy or a girl. It's simply saying that masculinity and femininity, that's what it's speaking about.
But
Go ahead.
could the child be talking about your spiritual understanding?
That's where I'm going.
Okay.
That's exactly where I'm going. And you are absolutely right. It is talking about your spiritual understanding. And this the word faint talks about being exhausted. And that exhaustion is not speaking to a physical exhaustion. It's talking about your being new to your understandings of the spirituality, or new to this journey that we're traveling in search of truth. And as a result of that, you get exhausted. And this exhaustion is not simply talking about a physical exhaustion. You know how when you first started making efforts to travel this journey, how difficult it appeared to be for us to embrace the newness of what we were being shown, how the struggles that we had. That's because we were young. Our bodies, those of us who spent hours more time studying than we did sleeping, yes, your body was exhausted. But this is talking about a mental exhaustion, because we don't know where we're going, and we never heard this before in our ears, our physical ears. And when it talks about the young men growing weary, it's also talking about maturity. Those who have been chosen have become weary. What does that mean? That weary speaks to being laborious. It's a labor that is difficult. It is toilsome, and this idea of men utterly falling, that should not be there, because it appears as though it speaks to us giving up. That's not what it's talking about. This is talking about staggering, wavering, trying to hold on, making every effort to hold on. So what is actually talking about is that when you wait with expectation for Jehovah, you will grow up. They that wait upon the Lord, you will renew your strength, meaning you will grow up. So, because you are expecting something by waiting, and you will find out that you've not been forsaken. You will be shown that what you are seeing with your eyes is actually progress. It's actually positivity as opposed to negativity. And I do believe that a couple of weeks ago, when we were talking about the necessity in guarding your speech, like trying indicates that you are weak, and you can't accomplish whatever you're trying to accomplish, because you're trying, you're not doing it. When we talked about those things, we were laying a foundation without knowing it for where we are in terms of understanding what it means to wait on Jehovah. Now, let me say this and put a pin in it right here and say this. As you go through the Old Testament, it's inclusive of this particular chapter, you're going to see Lord mentioned. And when you see that, it's not going to translate the same. It translates as Jehovah. It also translates as Adonai. Adonai is more of a characteristic than it is a descriptor. So I know some of you are going to read the rest of all these verses, rather. So keep that in mind as you walk through these verses. That there is this is turbidly translated. It is awful the way it was translated. So when you get to this section that talks about Lord is not talking about Adonai. It's talking about the one who created, but it was never created. It's talking about the perpetual one. So keep that in mind as you read that. Now, when it says that you shall renew means to grow up. It means to grow strength. It means to get strong. Why does it say grow up? Because when you wait with expectation, because you trust what the Lord, the self-existent one has done, you trust that, and you are waiting to see what's coming next. You're waiting. You're strong enough to fight your predisposition to give up because you're following something that you can't see. You're strong enough to resist that. And being strong enough to resist that means that you are growing stronger. And stronger is not something that's equated to lifting weights. Growing stronger is being strong in your resolve to stay the course. No matter what you have to face, you're going to stay the course. That's what it speaks to. Staying the course without regard to what comes next or what your eyes are seeing. Because when we look at the current environment with our eyes, it's easy to be hopeless. It's easy to give up. However, when we look at it with our eyes, or when we are given understanding of what each aspect of this chaos represents, that strengthens our resolve to keep moving forward. Any questions so far? Or comments? Is it clear?
Pastor, I have a comment.
Uh-huh.
I have a question. So are the Europeans, when they said, where are the, I guess, the black people, so to speak, the Africans, are they saying, is there a word from the God? Is there a word from the Lord? Where is God? Are they crying out that? Because we're not.
That's Evelyn, that's exactly what I was trying to recall. Yes.
Okay.
Where is God? Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. This is a cry to God, to who we are. And this cry is not only coming from the Europeans, it's also coming from the Hispanics. It's also coming from Asians. The cry has not gotten loud enough, meaning that it is easy for those who are crying out to revert to where they were before, if the chaos ends too soon. The greatest revenge that we can mete out is to change the mindset of those who have sought to destroy not only us, but earth itself. Change the mindset of greed and hatred. That's the best revenge, because everyone benefits from that change. Is that clear, or does it resonate?
It resonates. And also, Pastor, Ron was mentioned something about children, the child or whatever. I noticed on social media, these white kids are rebellious. They're in the streets now because their white privileges have been taken away from them also.
Yeah, I'll speak to that for a moment. White kids are angry, and They are angry because they got student loans and no job. They're angry because they cannot afford to buy a house or rent an apartment. They cannot afford to rent a room, let alone an apartment. They're angry because the jobs that they are getting does not pay them enough for them to live a life of comfort. And as you put it, Evelyn, their white privilege has been taken away. But this is what they did not understand. As long as we were called welfare queens, as long as we were projected as being the ones who have defaulted on student loans, as long as we're the ones who were projected as being lazy, and that is the reason we could not purchase a house or pay rent or buy a car or even go to a theater for entertainment once every month. As long as that projection was toward us, the ones who are angry now, the ones who are sitting in the streets now, were at home watching TV and embracing it by consent or with their silence. However, now that the shoe is on the other foot, they see how easy it is for them to lose the privilege that was given to them. And that anger is going to turn into an embracing of the wisdom that we put in the macro. Excuse me, meaning that they are going to, their eyes will be open, not their eye, their eyes will be open, and their minds will see clarity, and they will see what they were doing, that they were in the same space that the rulers or the billionaires are when it came to us. They will see that their white privilege is what has brought us to this place of chaos. They will also see, as they are seeing, that they need us, Africans. And is not, right now, is not we need the Africans' wisdom. It is we need the African black bodies on the streets. No, you don't. You think you do. What you need is to embrace the wisdom that's in the macro. And that is when the mindset begins to change. And now working with that is also the system of economics, the monetary system in this country. The dollar is the reserve currency for the world. And that reserve currency has lost its value. It's being propped up now by stealing oil, or one way it's being propped rather, by stealing oil from Venezuela. And the greed has reached a point where it wants to control everything. That's why they're talking about taking Greenland. This is no different, people. Now, what was happening when they left the Caucasus Mountains, as they were killing each other, they were taken from each other. This is no different than that. The thing that makes it appear to be different is that they have on clothes now, and they speak differently now, because when they first left the Caucasus Mountains, they didn't even have a language until it came from us, or was given to them by us. So we are in the same space where they were. And we did not change that behavior because of the brutality that we endured when they were in that state. And now that there are those who have made a vow to know who they are, and finding out who we are, we vowed to be to stand in the gap for humanity. And when we made that vow, it took years for us to get to this place. And getting to this place started with Obama being elected president. Erased all they did. I don't care nothing about that. Spiritually is what I'm looking at. When he became president spiritually, we begun to see an upsurge, an uncovering of the mindset of the European when they established the Tea Party. And from that came the Trump era. And now sandwiched between two white men. Bush blew up the economy. They gave it to an African man because they knew in their mindset that he was not going to be able to handle it because of what was happening. However, greed helped him do that. Not his greed, but the greed of those who have been running the world. They wanted to make money, and therefore they acquiesced to what his economists were saying, and the economy grew again. Then he said to Trump, "At least I'm president," and they roasted Trump while he was in the audience at one of those what is it? Journal dinners for journalists come on, help me, journalists, that dinner for journalists, and
My house correspondence dinner.
thank you, House Correspondents Dinner. Thank both of y'all. This is where it all began to be uncovered. Now you have one man who didn't care what happened to the economy because excessive greed. Then you have the other white man who is seeking vengeance. And when that one came president, he sought to control everything, but he had the connivers in his cabinet. The people who they're talking about were guardrails. They were protectors of the racist nature of this country. They were the protectors of the deceitful way that the world is being manipulated by Europeans. That's what they meant when they said he had guardrails. However, those guardrails were removed, meaning that the secret deceitfulness began to be exposed, and the exposure of it came as a result of greed. That is the reason these billionaires are in the space of the White House, because they are the ones who are so greedy until they sucked all the blood out of the economy, and as a result, their children are angry because their privilege is gone. So all of these things are enough to make us weary. All of these things are enough for us to give up hope. But look at this. We experienced something called hope when we were in the streets with George, because of what happened to George Floyd. That was not hope. That was sacrifice because of our black bodies being beaten and killed and arrested. The hope comes when, and I'll explain why I'm using the word hope in a minute. The hope comes when you see that we are prospering, that we are comfortable watching it on TV as opposed to being out there. And that this puts everyone in a space of hopelessness. The ones who were privileged have no hope now. Now, we are no longer in a place where we are seeking hope or having hope. We don't hope for anything because we are knowing. We know what the end is going to be. We just don't know what it's going to look like. But we know what is going to be. Is that clear? Especially that part of it.
Yes.
Any questions about that?
Yes.
Thank you. Any questions about that?
Sage, could you say that again?
Yeah, I'll do my best.
Thank you.
When we were in the streets with George, because of what happened to George Floyd, we were in the streets because there was a sense of hopelessness, and we were looking for hope. We were hoping things would change, but we were in a state of hopelessness. However, that was not hopelessness. When white folk are in the streets, what they are saying is there is no hope. So they are in a state of hopelessness now. And we no longer hope for anything. We are in a state of knowing as opposed to hoping. And when you know, that means that you have indeed mounted up with wings like eagles, and you have not grown weary from running. And I'll explain that in a minute. So where we are now is in a place where these people are hopeless. And the hopelessness that they are experiencing came as a result of them not having priority in terms of the workplace. Their hopelessness came from not being able to afford to live, period. Their hopelessness comes from being in a state that we have lived in for hundreds of years. Having to make a way out of no way type thing. They don't know how to do that. The thing that we are experiencing now is is the thing that did not happen when we came in contact with Europeans in the beginning. The brutality of the Europeans is what shifted everything. Now, the brutality of the Europeans is being meted out on Europeans the same way it was when they came out of the Caucasus Mountains. And they are doing something that they have never done in the history of the world. They are doing something that has never been done. They are crying out to God for deliverance. Where are the black people? They are crying out to God for deliverance. And those who want to maintain the system can no longer convince them that when black people are in charge, they go do the same thing to us that we did to them. That doesn't work anymore. The idea of, no, yeah, you broke, but you're white, that doesn't work anymore. The cry is for deliverance. And that cry for deliverance will be met when it is time. The manifestation of it would take place because The cry for deliverance has always existed. The deliverance has always existed. But there was not a man standing in the gap. There was not a mankind standing in the gap. What does that mean? Standing in the gap between unrighteousness and righteousness in order to bring righteousness into this earth. The cry for deliverance is actually a cry for righteousness. Is that clear?
Yes.
Any questions
Yes.
or comments? Thank you. Questions or comments?
I have a comment, Pastor. So I wanted to go back to something that you noted, which kind of pulls it to where you are with your analysis now. You noted that right now is not the time for Black people to get involved because the cry right now is not loud enough. And that those who,
Frank, and sincere.
and sincere, and those that are currently in the streets are seeking that support from Black people. And the recognition they now have, or the understanding that they have about this false sense of privilege that they once, held on to. We may be struggling, we may be white, but we're better than, or we're better off than where Black people are. It made me think about the fact that when these situations or these issues come about as a result of the level of oppression and the practices that are being implemented in society, how the face of the suffering has always been Black. Everyone would see how Black people would stand in the gap, not just for themselves, but for humanity in general. But they would be okay with sitting at home, observing what was happening and recognizing that the suffering that we experience as a result of standing up against injustice, they were okay with doing that, even though they suffered too. And I think this misunderstanding they had then, that they believed that that suffering was really us, and thinking that the only reason, and this is my opinion, that we were there in the gap was because we were trying to bring about change for our race and our people as opposed to everyone. And thus, it left them in a place where they may have had that mentality and perceived that that's the purpose, that we were in that gap. Although that wasn't what we did. We did it for humanity because it was injustice and it needed to be addressed. And it was part of our struggle, but we did it because it needed to be done. And now, with us not there, it's where they can see that that suffering is theirs. It's not just our suffering. And there's nobody to rescue them. And as a result, they now have to get out and do it themselves. And because they have to get out and do it themselves, it's hard for them to accept the fact that regardless of what is being told to them or what is being pushed to them ideologically, you still have your privilege. They cannot receive that because they recognize that there's a fallacy with that. And now that we're not there in that gap, they do not see hope for their situation because they haven't, like you've noted, done this kind of thing before. And we, as a people, have always had to have the mindset that you have to do for yourself because there's no one coming.
Right.
And we have moved out of that sense of hopelessness because We have done the work, and we understand that the Creator has positioned us to do that work. And it's not just for us, it's for humanity. And so now we're fast forwarding to where we are today. And through the trials and tribulations and the experiences of fighting on behalf of everyone else and recognizing everyone else seems to benefit more or receive the benefits of the labor of our people more, it has left us with the understanding that we have to wait for them to do the work for themselves, to reach a place where they're no longer sensing that hopelessness, but recognizing that this is not our fight. This is not Black people's fight. This is our fight against those who are really oppressing everyone. But they have to understand it's not about us. It's about what's happening to everyone that is not a part of that elite group.
That's the lesson, yes. That's the lesson. If you notice, everyone is talking about ancestors now more than ever before. Where did that come from? There is social media influencer who said she could no longer wear a cross because it represented white supremacy, and she put on an ankh. And now she is talking about ancestors instead of talking about Jesus. Where does it come from? It's because there is someone or someone's standing in the gap on behalf of humanity. Where we are now is we are in the mode of being deliverers. That's why we had to understand the nature of what they meant when they were talking about Jesus. We had to understand that. Now we understand that the civil rights movement was not about deliverance, even though we thought it was. The Pan-African Nationalist movement was not about deliverance, even though we thought it was. The movement was about being white, having the same privilege of being white, meaning that when we were talking about equality, we were talking about we want to be like you guys. We want to be a part of your system, without realizing the system is the problem for the whole world. Now we're not saying we want to be a part of your system. We are saying we want to deconstruct your system. We are destroying your system. We are tearing the house down. We are not rocking the boat. We turning the boat over and putting a hole in it so you can't use it anymore. That's where we are. We are no longer trying to preserve a system that is wrought with racism and greed and hatred, and a system that had as its support poor white people. We are destroying that system, and the way we are doing it is by the weapons of our warfare. They are spiritual, and the way the system is being destroyed is self-destructing. And the self-destruction of it means that the European are destroying their own system. Part of them are tired of it and can see what we've been saying for years. The other part of them are trying to preserve it. But the ones who are trying to preserve it do not understand. They are fighting on two fronts. One front is to maintain the mentality of white folk of believing because you're white, you're better than. The other part that they're fighting, they don't even realize it. And even if they did realize it, they don't understand how to deal with it. And that is spirituality. The weapons of our warfare are not carnal. They are spiritual. And by virtue of us embracing that reality, we are pulling down strongholds. We have already not depleted the power that the energy and power that they had. We have taken it, and that has thrown everything into a state of chaos. And the only reason that the ones in the streets are able to prevail is because we are talking about the positivity of what they are doing, meaning that the energy that's giving them the resolve to cry out for help, the energy that keeps them out there is the energy for change that we are putting in the macro. We are not suffering the way they thought we would suffer. I can go home. If something goes wrong, our kids will tell you in a heartbeat, I can go home. White kids can't go home for the most part. And the ones who are suffering the most are the ones who turn their nose up at people like us because they were called the middle class. And if you call someone the middle class, then you are talking about a lower class too. And all of us, regardless of how much money we had or have, we were relegated to being in the low class without them even saying it. That's so those who are in the middle class are out there in the streets. And those who are poor are looking at us and seeing that they are in a position where they have less than we do, because we were never the problem, even though we were pointed at as being the problem. So now, what have we done? We have made a decision. And that decision is that we're going to hold on and see what the end going to be. We are going to run, and I'm sorry. We are going to mount up with wings, meaning that you are going to be elevated. You are going to be in a state of elevation. Why does it use an eagle? An eagle is a vulture, but it's not being used because it is a vulture. It is being used because the eagle flies at a lofty height. It's saying that you will be elevated to a lofty height, and your vision will be so sharp, you will be able to see a bug on the ground, meaning that you will be able to see the nuances of what's going on and the spiritual message that's being sent. That's what this is talking about. You will continue this journey. You will not give up. Why? Because you are waiting for the self-existing one to guide us, and the guidance comes through our ancestors. Yes, it's hard work, but you will not give up, and you will not faint. You will walk. You will take your time and not faint, meaning that nothing will stop you. Your continuation of the journey, your taking your time as you walk, your haste, meaning you're running, which means simply that, to run or to move in a haste. And the idea of walking simply means that you are slowing down to see what's happening. Right now, we are walking. We are walking because we are looking at, from the point of view of the eagle, from the point of view of being in a lofty place. We are able to look at the whole picture and are able to move hastily to understand what the message is. And we do this without it being a laborious task. And once we see it, we begin to walk, and we do not faint. We are meaning that we stay strong and we move forward without regard to what comes. So I'm saying to you as I end for today is this: stay focused. When you feel like there is no hope, when you are afraid that you're going to lose your job and lose everything that you have, remember that you have everything to gain and nothing to lose, because the one who brought everything into existence that exists is the one who created you and is the one who is guiding you. It does not say that wait on God. It says wait on the Lord. Why does it not say wait on God? Because you're God and don't realize it. You're not embracing it. These are not messages to Europeans. These are messages to the children of Akebalon. This is a Kabylonian book that has been porched by Europeans. This book has been manipulated by Europeans. These books were written for Kabylonians to remind us of who we are. That's why it said, wait on the Lord, because the Lord is the one who made you who you are. The word God, Elohim, means one yet many. So what I am saying, the Christianity, Islam would call it blasphemous. That's okay. Christianity is also the one who enslaved us. Keep this in mind. The same Christianity that you are practicing today was given to us at the inception of slavery. Christianity started slavery. And Muslims, Islam, sold slaves. They are invaders just like Europeans are. The Arabs are invaders just like the Europeans. And they did with Islam what the Europeans did with Christianity. And both of them are working hand in hand because Arabs are the offspring of Europeans and Asians. And the people who hate us the most are Europeans and Asians. And what is that saying? The mindset of the European and the mindset of the Asian mixed together becomes Semitic, meaning that they're part of both systems. And both of them, the Asian as well as the European, have morphed into what an Arab is, and that is greed, and that is disdain for anyone who don't look like them or worship like them. That's where we are. And the Lord says today to all of us, because you waited, I have elevated you so you can see everything that's going on. So you are able to interpret it for the people. How can I understand unless I have someone teach me? Do we want to be taught? And if we want to be taught, then are you going to embrace what's being taught and make it a true part of your life? Questions, comments?
Hello, this is Janice. I have a struggle. The word Lord, I hear it as masculine and white, and I don't know what to do about that.
It's difficult. Why? Because the Lord is white, God is white, Jesus is white, our worship is white. So you have to purge yourself from that because those are Christian beliefs. And all of these were made white for the express purpose of getting us to a place where we would maintain enslavement ourselves and they would not have to. That is why we are still enslaved. When we began to see this Lord as being an entity that has always been and never created, there is no, it's not a European, it's not an African, it's not a Cabelonian. It just is. When we look at God, we are seeing that this entity, this spiritual entity that's unseen, that was not created, brought into existence a mindset of deliverance for a purpose. And that spiritual essence brought into existence a physical body through the womb of a Cabelonian woman. And this is the thing that I hope will help you. And that is this. The Creator brought into existence the essence of spirituality that guides us. The cosmic mother that birthed us in a physical way. And we are the ones who created everyone else. Everyone else was created in the womb of the Cabelonian woman. So, if we can see ourselves as the Cabelonians, meaning as spiritual beings, and understand that the Cabelon is the whole world that's been distorted by Europeans. If we can see ourselves as a Cabelonians, and we look in the mirror and see the melanin that gives us the power in this earth to exert the authority of who we were created to be, of who we are rather, and that is God. If we can see that, then we begin to see something else. We begin to see that the Cabelonian is the one that was created in physical form, but the rest of the world was not created by the one who created us. We are the creators of everyone else in this earth. That's something that's a intimate, personal thing that we have to reckon with within ourselves. And even if we have to talk to ourselves and repeat it over and over in order for us to embrace it, whatever it takes for us to see who we are. Because when we see the Lord, when we see God, when we see everything as being white, then it is more difficult for us to love ourselves, to submit to spirituality as opposed to the church. When we see that Jesus never existed physically, when we take a deep dive into understanding where this notion of Jesus came from, we will see that notion, this physical Jesus came from, that notion of a physical man named Jesus came from Christianity long before they started manipulating the Bible. It came from a schism between the Memphite priests and Kemet and the Europeans out of Rome. And the end of that, the split rather came when the Europeans decided that they was going to created Jesus in bodily form, and they created it to look like them. While at the same time, the Memphite priest was saying, this is about spirituality. This is an energy force. This is not a physical thing. This is an energy force of deliverance. And the Babylonians saw deliverance as being a teacher. What am I saying? The students in Kemet were taught who they are from age 3 or whatever the age is, young anyway. And as a result of that, teaching became instruction in who you are and your purpose for being in the earth. And that is the reason every single course of study emanated with us. Been manipulated, but it emanated from us. Everything that has been invented came from us. And the reason they use the word invented, because invention speaks more to a mindset of an earthly environment than it does to spirituality. We did not invent anything. We created everything. And I'm hoping that what I'm saying to you will give you some images so that you can see yourself, or can see Elohim in you, and can see Elohim in those who look like you, as opposed to looking in a mirror and seeing black skin. You look in the mirror and see melanin. Is that helpful, Janice?
It is helpful. I heard you say cosmic mother, which I can get with. Creator, I can get with. Lord, I still struggle with. I feel like it was a word, like a translation or a word that was given, and it still feels tainted. So how our cosmic mother, how like that infinite entity that created us, how are those related to Lord?
Here we are. Ein Sof, Lord, Jehovah, the unspeakable name, the source, the light of all lights. All of that is referencing that entity that has always been. Can you get with that so far?
Yes, and this is an entity without gender.
Without form.
Mm-hmm.
Now, that entity brought into existence this entity of God, one yet many. This entity, well, let me back up. This entity brought into existence, rather, femininity and masculinity, with femininity being the source of life in physical form. This out of this femininity and masculinity came us, because when I say the cosmic mother, I am talking about a womb. I'm talking about a spiritual womb without form, a spiritual womb that brought into existence physical bodies, and these physical bodies represents or has the same energy of its source, and its source is the cosmic mother, or this feminine and masculine energy that exists for the purpose of embodying physicality. Now, if we look at the stages of this does not mean that Ein Sof, the source of however you reference it, it does not mean that the spiritual essence in the cosmic mother or the womb that brought us into existence, it doesn't mean that it is everything that brought it into existence. It simply means that it is this thought, this desire that was in Ein Sof that came to fruition rather. And all of this happened at the same time. This is not a stage where in 1923 Ein Sof brought into existence the womb that was going to birth us. And then in 1950, then the entity brought us into, it doesn't work like that. All of this happened at the same time. If when you create something, you see it first before you bring it into existence. If you see a chair, then you proceed to make that chair in the image of what you saw. And what you saw is spiritual. And the image of that chair, once you make that chair, it embodies the spirituality of that thought that was in your head. And it looks like that thought that was in your head. It looks like that image that was in your mind. It looks like that image, but the image is embodied in it, and out of that chair, others began to make a chair. And what happens is, out of that chair comes all your offsprings. Does that make sense? I'm sorry. Does that resonate?
It's clear, yeah.
Now, if it's not clear, please ask a question. And if you don't know what to ask right now, send a text to one of us and we'll do it tomorrow. Or write your question, make note of your question, and bring it tomorrow. Because it is important that we are able to image ourselves in the way that we were created to image ourselves. And again, this is not what we have been told it is. Right now, I will be excommunicated from the church, even though I've already excommunicated myself. So I'm not uneasy with what I'm saying. And I would say to anyone, if you do a deep dive into Christianity, and I say this often, look at the Acacian Schism. And if you understand the Acacian Schism, you will see how the physical Jesus came into existence from the mind of the European and made in its image and its likeness. So, if there are no questions or comments, I'm done.
Thank you for that.
Thank you for bringing it up. Every question that is raised for others as well. It's not just that's in the macro now. So thank you. Right?
Thank you. Great discussion. That's a lot for today. Why don't we
And I'm not finished. I'll finish tomorrow.
Okay. But thank you for that. Thank you everyone for your questions and your energy. Great day. And let's do it again tomorrow, 11 a.m.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your energy, your presence. Thank you for your questions, everything. So you guys have a great day.
Have a great day. Thank you, everyone.
everyone.
Take
Bye-bye.
care, family.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you.